on it out as recorded. All the votes are going to be roll call votes as usual for a virtual meeting, and I have copies of all the presentations and any of that if we need it after the meeting. All right, so and particularly if you're having trouble with any kind of feedback, please remain muted unless you're speaking. I will mute you too if I'm noticing a lot of feedback. So if you're speaking and no one's noticing, that could have happened. So first we have a quick financial update from Sherry. Also, we talked about this last time, but we don't have anything new this year. It's all reoccurring projects, and we didn't receive any formal public comment, which isn't all that unusual. Anglers Club, the Virginia Beach Anglers Club let us know that they had a conflict tonight. So did Mr. Dobbins just a little while ago. Both of them had already presented at the last meeting, so attendance at every meeting is not technically mandatory. And we also have an additional presentation from Mr. Carroll and Mr. Lawson that many of you heard me getting straight with our meeting set up earlier, who are going to give us a presentation on the CVOW project. The commercial wind energy project that also coincides with our Triangle Reef. Questions I have for everyone at the next meeting, two things. We do have someone requesting everyone's shirt size, one of our club members. So please shoot me an email with your t-shirt size, all board members, please do that. Also, we need to talk a little bit about the schedule for the next meeting. So virtual meetings have their own issues as far as audio and video and getting everyone on. In general, we have had much better participation in our virtual meetings than we've had in the past. There are other options. I know that we now have an option for an in-person meeting. Commission has moved to in-person. Some of our other boards have tried a hybrid out with varying success. So I don't know what the rules are going to be decided in the next few months as how meetings can run. But if you have opinions, board members, on preferences, if you prefer virtual, if you'd much prefer in person, if you don't think you could make one or the other, or the technology is overwhelming for you, please let me know so I can sort of poll everyone. You don't have to speak up now if you'd rather not, but do let me know if you have strong opinions about it so that I can kind of get that together and present when they start talking about our board. So we do make votes. We do make we are an advisory committee to the commission. We aren't actually making laws with our votes, but we are still voting. So just let me know if you have any strong opinions on that, and I will put that together. I don't know what the outcome will be, but I definitely wanted to sort of collect our opinions before we even started.
Alicia, just some food for thought. Usually the voting meeting doesn't last but maybe an hour or so, so it's going to be kind of, I can't find the right word, but driving 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours for an hour meeting is kind of stretching it as far as I'm concerned.
Understood. So meeting length versus driving time.
Yeah. I mean, once we get back into a normal routine, then that's going to be one thing. But, you know, just for this last meeting, I think it's probably better. I'm not going to say one way or the other, but I'm just saying what the obstacles would be. You can still do. I've been involved in a couple of hybrid meetings, and they seem to work. But and they worked until June 30th, and then the last one I was supposed to go to as a hybrid was changed to an in-person, and out of an 11-member committee, 6 people showed up.
So we haven't. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Just JT. I said I agree with Ed. I mean, you know, with the driving. I mean, Jeff, can you do what we're doing?
Okay. I definitely understand that. You've got a long commute. Okay, well, I don't, like I said, I don't know how much we will have the option. I think some of this is still going to have to go to our legal counsel. Those were questions when first started on what can we do and what can't we do. There may be a possibility that we have more flexibility because we aren't the commission. The commission actually makes the vote. So we'll see. I don't know if that's true or not. So we're just going to have to find out. But I definitely appreciate getting some feedback from you all before we start. I'd much rather start that conversation with, here's the overall board feeling. Sherry, did you want to talk about anything during the work session, or did you want to save it for just the meeting in general?
May as well save it for the meeting since I'm just be duplicating my.
Okay, yeah, we only got 10 minutes. And one thing we talked about a little bit last year that has kind of changed is we talked about different protocols going in, and it's, as much as we thought things were changing quickly 2 months ago, I would say they're changing even more quickly now, as far as what we can and include. So what we can and cannot include in our contracts and those types of things. I think having some further discussion after our work session, I think those are definitely things that would be put into a contract document after all the votes have been made, and sort of as part of the thing that our clubs would sign if we wanted to put a statement about following guidelines or governor's guidelines or any of those things, with the executive order not being in place anymore. Like I said, I'm not sure exactly how that's changed, and I imagine we'll still see some changes between now and when we vote in September. But I think that'll probably be the time to really talk about is during that work session, because things are still such a moving target right now. But having had a few other conversations in the meantime, I think if we do decide to add that in, it would be in that final contract with our work with our grantees. Let's see. I think we have a few other folks. There we go. All right, I'm going to stop sharing just long enough to get an attendance list, and then we'll be ready for our meeting in 5 minutes. Mr. Randolph, have you had any luck? Okay. I'm going to mute myself for just a moment. I think one of our board members just called in since we have 7 minutes before our meeting starts. If you need me, just say something and feel free to chat. Mr. Stevenson, did that work? Do you want to try unmuting to test? No, we're not there. Hey, Susanna, I've seen you get on. I don't think we've tested your audio. Can you speak, please? And Mr. Fiddle, your phone itself might be muted as well. Hi, Mr. Pat. Could you speak, please, to test your audio?
Hello.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. We got you. Thank you.
I'll mute myself.
No problem.
At least I count 6.
I believe that's right. 1, 2, 3. That is correct. All right, we can go ahead and get started if you like, and I'll note Ms. Whitmore if she's able to join us.
Okay. Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting of the Recreational Fishing Fisheries Advisory Board to order. It's 6 o'clock. I'm glad everybody could make it. Alicia, have you got any introduction, announcements, or any comments you want to make?
Nothing new, just the same spiel I give everyone when we do a virtual meeting. Just, please mute, or if you're if you're speaking and we don't seem to be responding, check your mute button to make sure you're not muted when you shouldn't be. Thank everybody for coming. All the votes will be roll call. That's just standard for a virtual meeting. And particularly for board members, if you have a comment, or the public, if you have a public comment, please do state your name before making any statements so that we can have it for the recording. And with that, I think that's about all I have.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, the status of the fund. I think that's Sherry.
Yep.
Yeah, Alicia, do you have a slide?
Oh, I do.
Okay. The beginning cash balance on the fund as of July 1st, 2020 was $4,201,244. Revenue collected for the fiscal year 21 was $3,163,963. Total expenditures for that period, $2,188,912. Current cash balance in the fund is $5,176,295. And these are estimates based on the pre-closed figures of the budget.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
All right, everybody should have received their minutes by email. We been gone over them. Are there any corrections or otherwise you want to leave them as is? Has anybody got any corrections to make?
It's JT. Related.
JT, you're breaking up. You want to try it again?
Minutes
I,
related.
all right, I got a motion from Mr. Holland to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
It's Randy. Second the motion.
All right, Randy Pack seconds. All in favor, raise your hand. Oh, I'm sorry, wait a minute.
I'll
Alicia,
call it.
if you'll do the roll call, please.
No problem. Mr. Airy,
Agreed.
Mr. Holland,
Hey.
Mr. Pack,
Yes.
Ms. Payne,
Yes.
Mr. Randolph.
Good.
Oh, we heard you. Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Jesse, you have not joined us, correct? Ms. Whitmore. Okay. That is all, sir.
All right, thank you. Motion's carried. All right, today is supposed to be public hearing. I don't think anybody signed up according to Alicia. So, I see Joe Stevenson on. Unless he wants to say something, we'll keep it short and sweet and to the point. Joe, you got anything you want to talk about real quick? All right. All right, I'm gonna, since everybody else has made their presentation, I'm gonna go down to item D, which is Wes Brown, and let him make his presentation since he wasn't available last time. So, Wesley,
Yes, sir.
all yours to make a short presentation, sir.
All right. Some of you, I'm sure, know exactly what we do. The Kiwanis Fishing Clinic is approximately 250, 300 kids, 8 to 12 years old. We hold our event at the Buckrow Fishing Pier. The event is free to the kids that participate. We feed them breakfast, take them through educational booths, take them on the fishing pier, let them fish for 2 or 3 hours. When they're finished, we bring them back off and we feed them lunch, and they get to take the rod and reel, hat, t-shirts, and all the tackle and whatever information we can get they take it home with them so they can hopefully continue to fish.
Okay.
Do you need
Any
anything
questions?
else?
No, I don't need anything else. I mean, we hear it every year, but no offense.
That's okay.
Anybody have any questions for Wesley? Okay, thank you, sir.
Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, sir.
We are having our fishing clinic this year, July the 20th at Buckrow Fishing Pier. It would be next Tuesday. And you guys are welcome to come out and participate. I'm not sure how many kids we're going to have because a lot of the summer camps are closed and there's a lack of personnel and transportation. So, but I just wanted to get them back out and let's get something going this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys do.
All right. The next one is Mr. Eisenhower. He wasn't available last meeting. Alicia, is he on?
He is. I haven't tested his audio, but he did join us.
All right, Mr. Eisenhower, it's you have the floor to make a presentation on your boat fishing trip.
Mr. Eisenhower, you appear to be muted. I sent you a request. You can unmute yourself. Should be at the bottom left of your screen. There you are.
All right. There you
Now we
go.
can hear you.
Yeah, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing for now close to 8 years, or at least we're hoping to do it because unfortunately, because of COVID, last year we had to cancel, and this year we're going to have to cancel again because the Norfolk East Ocean View Rec Center is not having their campers again because of COVID. They're still not comfortable getting together or getting on a head boat. So we're praying for next year that we can get together and go out on the Judith Ann with Captain Boone and take them out fishing, usually around the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel or the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. And after about 3 hours of fishing, now we'll usually have between 15 and 20 adults with them, and we usually have up to 50 kids. We'll see what the numbers are. We'll know better next year. But we're after that, after we fish, and we're of course telling them about the different awards they can get from by catching the different species, and really hands-on unknotting and taking those fish off the hooks and helping them in any way and teaching them how to fish. We have some, usually we've had kids that we had the year before, but there's no telling with a 2-year break like we're having this year and last year. So we'll see. And afterwards we get together at the rec center, and hot dogs, hamburgers, and all kinds of drinks, and all the kids really love that get together with all of us. And usually the ones we've been assigned to and helped handle their fish, they got to sit right next to you, and they are really love the fishing. So hopefully we can do this next year. We're certainly going to try.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Eisenhower? All right, hearing none. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being with us tonight.
You're welcome.
All right, research projects. Any questions from the board to Lewis for the game fish tagging or Ms. Music? Or do either one of them want to speak?
I just want to reiterate too, this is Alicia, that we have not received any public comment. And none of these projects, because they're multi-year and we've reviewed them many times, required a peer review either. So we don't have any public comment. That doesn't reflect poorly. It just means that they're kind of normal projects for us to see.
I think he's trying to hurry me along.
Oh, I'm not. I just wanted to make sure we all are on the same page.
All right.
This is Lewis. I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to speak, but I think the best thing for me to do is not mess up a good thing. So unless you have a question.
This is Susanna, and I'll second Lewis's comment there.
Okay. I mean, it was wide open. If Susanna, if you want to say anything real quick.
I'll just say I really appreciate all the support we've gotten for the past 25 years, and I'm so grateful, and I'm grateful to all the anglers who make it possible in every way they do. So thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Item D is Mary Fabrizio with the
Oh, I'm sorry.
Young of the Year American Eel. Any questions for her? This is going to be a split between us and the Finfish. I guess that's who it is.
Yes, it's from the commercial fund.
Okay, the commercial fund. So, any questions? I see Ms. Fabrizio is on the system.
Yep, I'm here.
Dr. Fabrizio, would anything you'd like to say?
No, I'll just echo what Susanna said. I thank you for the many years of support for this project, and thanks again.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Next is the matching federal assistance fund, which is divided between us and the commercial side. Alicia, anything you need to say on that one?
No, I think that's just like everyone else. We've covered it many times. We appreciate everybody's support, and we take I think we walked it through last time. You know, we take a lot of funds, but if you take that and see how much research funds that we are able to use by utilizing the matching funds this way, I mean, it supports a large number of programs and a lot of science. And so it's a really great program where we're able to use both funds.
Okay. All right, next one is marine sport fish collection. Ethan, anything you need to say, or anybody have any questions for him on this? He was there.
So Ethan is here, and I know I've sent a few people his phone number to be tech support for anyone having trouble with their audio. So if we lost him, that could be why.
Okay.
And actually, I see that he just hopped off, so he might be having technical problems.
All right, well,
But I can also answer a lot of questions about that program if there's any issues.
we could catch up with him next time. Everybody sit and read it again and maybe email some questions. All right, next up, the last item on the agenda is presentation from Dominion Energy Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project, Ron Larson and Kevin Carroll. So I'm going to
Mr.
turn
Larson,
it over.
I'll make you presenter again.
I'm
Okay.
going to turn it over to them. Who's going first?
Well, I'll start and I'll introduce Kevin. So and then we'll let Kevin go from there. So
All right, let me ask a question before you get too far. I know
right
a
ahead.
Kevin Carroll, but it can't be the same one.
Which one do you know?
The one that used to be a Chesterfield cop that's now on the Chesterfield Board of Supervisors.
No, this is the one that used to be in the United States Coast Guard. So,
All right.
one.
I tell you what, I'll take you over him any day.
There you go.
All right, Mr. Larson, it's all yours.
Well, I'm Ron Larson. I work with Dominion Energy. I'm the fisheries liaison for the Dominion Energy Offshore Wind Coastal Offshore Wind project here, known as CVOW. Myself and Kevin Carroll just going to run through kind of what the project looks like, where we are to date, and what to expect going forward. Kevin is the maintenance and operations manager for the CVOW program, and as he just stated, he's formerly of the Coast Guard, so some of you folks might know him from there. And with that, I'll let Kevin introduce himself, and I'll go to the first slide.
Good. Thank you, Ron, and thank you, folks, for allowing us to speak tonight. We understand offshore wind. Obviously, it's new. We have 2 turbines that are offshore right now, but as we start to get towards 2024 to 2026, there's going to be a lot more, and we think it's a very good project. There's an awful lot of benefits, but being the new kid in town, we want to make sure that we're here to be able to answer a lot of questions for folks and be accessible. So Ron and I have been on a road show, which has consisted of us sitting in front of our computer a lot because of COVID. So we're more than amenable to being able to get out and meet in person as soon as people are holding in-person meetings. But so the CVOW project, the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project, is about 27 miles offshore. Actually consists of about 2 projects. One is the pilot project, and you can see that little area highlighted in yellow over there, and that is a research lease. And we'll talk more about that in a second. And the other is the commercial project. So the 2 turbines are installed right now. If you look to the far left of the screen, you can see the turbines actually being put together. The bottom picture is from a 6-month scour protection survey of the turbines themselves. And it's pretty amazing at that 6-month mark, the amount of marine life that had taken shape around the turbines is pretty amazing. And the far right pictures as well, you'll also see vessels building the turbine. And that, in fact, was a foreign flag vessel, but for the commercial vessel, the commercial project rather, we will have a purpose-built U.S. flag wind turbine installation vessel that Dominion Energy is building down in Brownsville, Texas right now. So Ron, can you please go to the next slide?
Yep.
All right, so Why a pilot project? Why did we put 2 in first? Well, we wanted to learn from it, and we've learned an awful lot. They haven't even really been in for a year. They've just been in for about a year now, and we've learned an awful lot. They haven't been online generating power since October, but again, monopile installation and pile driving sound mitigation study to kind of influence of when we're going to do the construction out there, and especially to be able to avoid the North Atlantic right whale migration season. We have ongoing research activities out there along with BOEM and the Rodeo, which stands for the Real-Time Opportunity for Development of Environmental Observations. Coast Guard exercises. We understand that we're probably going to bring a little bit more risk out to an area where there was open sea. So we're working very closely with the U.S. Coast Guard, and that photograph to the right is from an exercise we did in October. And fishermen, divers, and wreck mariners of all kind have been visiting the turbines, including some fellow who made it out to Rudy Island on a jet ski. That's 27 miles out to the turbines on a jet ski. Next slide, please. So what do the foundations look like beneath the water? So they're at about 80 feet of water, and down through the mud, they actually go down about another 120 feet. They're protected by a layer of rock, scour. So we have 72-foot radius, which extends out from, obviously, from the turbine foundation. Then there's a second layer of armor layer of rock at 39 feet. Armor layer consists of larger rocks, about 80 to 400 pounds. And we've been doing visual surveys on the conditions out there. Obviously, this is going to help us better inform when we do the commercial project. Next slide, please. So the commercial project, we have that lease area, and you can see that to the right-hand side of the screen. Over 112,000 acres. We're planning for 188 14-megawatt turbines. We're actually probably going to have a little bit less than that through effective engineering. And it's going to be 2.6 gigawatts of power. That's enough for 660,000 homes, and all of that is with zero carbon emissions. The turbines are going to be about 800 feet tall, with spacing between them about 0.75 to 0.93 nautical miles. Once complete, it will be the single largest offshore wind project in the United States, as per the developers. If you notice on the picture to the right-hand side, it shows an area that is in magenta. That is the Triangle Rex area. There is no plan to put any turbines there. If you notice also, we're kind of looking towards the northwest corner because a lot of deep draft shipping comes through there. And we're looking to pull turbines away from that northwest corner as well. Next slide, please. So what's our on the water timeline? So from April to June, we were doing geophysical and geotechnical surveys of the bottom of the lease area to better inform where we're going to be able to place the turbines. We've now completed that. We have some small geotechnical work that's being done close to shore for the cable routes, so we expect that done this summer. This summer, we're expecting to deploy a meta-ocean data collection in the lease area. And 2022 to 2023 will be doing UXO surveys out in the lease area and along the cable route to shore. So big time frame for everybody is May to October of 2024. That's when we're going to start construction of the monopiles. And again, that's to avoid the North Atlantic right whale migration season. And from November to 2024 to April 2025, we'll be putting in the wind turbines and the cables. And then again, construction for the monopiles from May to October. And then hopefully by November 2025 to April 2026, we will have completed the construction for approximately 180 wind turbine generators, 3 offshore substations, and the cable routing necessary to bring it onshore and bring the power to the ratepayer in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Next slide, please. So we have a summary. Ron, is this the time you take over, or is this still my slide?
This is something that that I can do. This was something that Scott had done before, but since he's not there, I'll take it. So, so as far as avoidance and mitigation, there will be safety zones that are going to exist during the construction periods. So during the construction periods, it's like any construction zone. There'll be a restriction around that area. Those areas are going to be temporary for the time period of the construction. But beyond construction, fishermen are going to be allowed to access the sites. We work with the fishermen, commercial, recreational fishermen, know what's going on and review the operational planning and the schedules so that we understand where folks are going to be fishing, commercial fishermen, where their operations are, and if they're going to be temporarily displaced as well. As Kevin noted, we work with the Coast Guard. We'll be issuing notice to mariners about any closures and any activity that goes on offshore. So those will be typically posted on the Coast Guard website. We also maintain the Dominion website has a mariners section there that also has information for mariners about offshore operations and what's going to be going on offshore. The goal is to minimize any impacts on fishermen, commercial and recreational, so that we can, coexist. As Kevin mentioned in the beginning, we're new to the block. We are going to be a new neighbor. We want to be a good neighbor, and part of that is coexisting with the users that are already out there. There's a fisheries communications plan which details how we're gonna do that with communications with commercial and recreational fishermen and the outreach, and so that's also posted on the website. That's a live document. It's we look for feedback from both commercial and recreational fishermen on things that we can do better. We're always looking for inputs from fishermen, from the users on what we can do better. We are also establishing partnerships with local institutions, local and regional fishing experts. There's a relationship that exists with VIMS and the Virginia Aquarium as well, so that we can do some monitoring. We're doing pre-construction monitoring, baseline monitoring, and post-construction monitoring, and actually monitoring during the installation, during the construction timeframes. So there's the website. So please feel free to jump on the CVOW website, take a look at the fisheries section, or take a look at the whole website if you want additional information about what's going on with that with the program. I mentioned our fisheries outreach, so that's kind of my job, but I've only been with supporting Dominion since about 2018. Outreach for this work for the CVOW project has been going on since about 2009, when BOEM first established their Virginia Intergovernmental Renewable Energy Task Force. So that was developed to really get input and feedback from people about the proposed offshore wind areas, which was much larger and different than it is today. And based on the inputs that were received over a period of time, that area was whittled down and modified to what it is today. In 2013, is what there was when Dominion was awarded the lease for this area. So between 2009 and 2013, that outreach was ongoing by BOEM. Kevin also mentioned that the research lease was actually acquired by the Virginia Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy, the DMME, in 2015, and BOEM, together with the DMME, funded the Virginia Coastal Zone Management Program to identify fisheries outreach process and program. So that was funded by them. A report was issued in 2016 to try and identify best ways to outreach and incorporate commercial and recreational fishermen into the process. And part of that is having a fisheries liaison, which is what I do, and what we do is we outreach to the fishing communities from that might have might work or visit the area. So we've been to the ports from Ocean City, Maryland, down to Beaufort, North Carolina, to talk with commercial and recreational fishermen. We've tried to engage as many local fisheries organizations as we can, commercial and recreational, We recently participated in the Great Bridge Fisheries Association flea market in Chesapeake, and that was a great outreach event. We got to meet with a lot of recreational fishermen there, but we continue to try and provide those outreach opportunities, and either by regular mariner updates, which during our survey operations we were putting out fairly routinely on a monthly or 6-week basis, letting folks know what's going on. I mentioned our webpage, and we also, with the commercial folks, we work with commercial fishermen as scout vessels, but we also work with some of the recreational boats and the head boats. We work with Skip and his mariner, his Rudy Fleet, and they take folks out and on visits to the existing turbines. So what we also do is when we have vessels out there for, as Kevin mentioned, from April of 2020 to until now, we've had survey vessels out in the lease along the cable route. Before those survey vessels go out there, we give them a fisheries briefing on what to expect with respect to commercial and recreational fishermen. What they should expect to see when tournaments are going on, especially offshore tournaments, when they can expect high-speed vessel transits to the offshore areas or just working around there. We've made sure and encouraged folks and when the survey operations are going on, to understand that on weekends and holidays, to try and avoid areas where recreational fishermen will be it the Triangle Rex area or some other wrecks or other areas that exist, so that we can avoid interactions and let the recreational folks enjoy their offshore experience. And that's been pretty successful for the past 16 months. So I mentioned recreational fisheries and what we've seen. So we have seen quite a bit of recreational fishing in the offshore. Obviously, the Triangle Rex area is regularly targeted by recreational fishermen. And we talked about the transits for the HMS, the highly migratory folks, to get offshore, whether it be from out of Lynnhaven or Norfolk, or basically out of the Chesapeake Bay or out of Rudy, to get offshore. You can see that based on where the lease area is, there will be transits east and west to get to the offshore once through the lease area once the lease area is built out. So those are some of the things that we've been talking to recreational fishermen about, so that they understand, what it's going to look like in the offshore area once this thing is built out. And we also expect to see, other recreational activities out there. We know that, free divers have already been utilizing some of the buoys that exist. Kevin mentioned the rodeo program. The rodeo program has some scientific equipment marked by buoys that's in and around the pilot turbines, and free divers have been targeting those those structures and spear fishing, and we fully expect the scuba divers as well to start to use the structure as well once those things are built out. There's a lot of questions that we're typically asked. We have a frequently asked questions section on the website, and specifically that address some of the fisheries issues, and rather than unless folks want to hear them here, we can kind of go through some of these things about the how and why. Some of the primary ones here. So how and why was this location chosen? This was chosen by BOEM. BOEM went through a process. They identified an area where the wind energy is best, and then they went through a process of outreach and whittled those areas down. And then once the areas were identified by BOEM, then those areas were put out to lease. So some folks believe or understood that it was the developers that went and selected areas. No, the areas were actually selected by BOEM and then whittled down through stakeholder outreach to what they are today. Will fishermen be able to continue fishing in the lease area? Yes, they'll be able to fish in the area, except again during construction and maybe maintenance operations. Fishermen are encouraged to continue fishing in the area. Just don't touch, don't bump, don't tie up, don't touch the structure out there. But other than that, we encourage fishermen to continue doing what they do. Navigational safety. I'll kick that one over to Kevin. You there, Kev?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how to unmute on this platform. So how are we addressing navigational safety? Well, the first part of what we did is we conducted over the course of a year a navigational safety risk assessment where we looked at heat maps for all various different types of vessels, commercial vessels, DOD vessels, commercial vessels really of all types, from the ultra large container vessels down to the commercial fishing vessels to tugs and barges. And and some of the information was actually very good for us to see that there is almost natural bifurcation of traffic as it departs the Chesapeake Bay and as it arrives to the Chesapeake Bay from the north or the south. However, there were lines of traffic that do go through the lease area. And I'm sure everybody's aware the Coast Guard just released the Chesapeake Bay Port Access Route Study, which comments are due on that study by this July the 16th. This Friday. And part of what we're doing is a very aggressive look about how we are going to mark and how we are going to light the wind lease area. That is both for maritime traffic and for aviation traffic. Thanks, Ron.
Yep. I don't want to take up too much of folks' time, but these things are on the facts there. Obviously EMF has been something that folks have asked questions about, and fisheries resource studies. I think we mentioned that we're partnering we've engaged VIMS and are going to be doing some resource studies going forward. Again, there's in the facts, there's lots of information on the website, as well as on links to the other websites, BOEM websites, and even the Mid-Atlantic Fisheries Management Council. If you haven't been there, they maintain a fantastic offshore wind website there that has that they do a great job of providing updates and information. So I'm going to kind of leave it there right now and kind of let you ask some questions. But what I'm going to do in the meantime, I've got a 30-second video that I'm going to try and pop on here as well to run in the background. That basically shows 30 seconds of the ROV video at the base of one of the turbines. So, but happy to take questions while I'm trying to put that up.
As far as the host, I'm not sure how you wanted to run the question and answer session.
Kevin, I got a question for you. One question. Can you pencil in the Recreational Fisheries Board for the second Monday in May of next year and bring us an update?
Absolutely.
And I'll promise you, I won't put you at the end of the meeting. I'll put you at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, next May.
No, the second Monday in the month of May in 2020, whatever it is, 22.
All right, you're on the books.
Can you all see my screen with the picture on it? Kevin, can you see it?
You can see it. Right.
So I'm just going to run this a little bit that shows. This is at the base of the turbines. Say again?
Can you tell us what species we're looking at?
We saw some black sea bass. We saw some spadefish. I'm not sure if there was a tog in there or not. There's actually, and that's only 30 seconds of it. There's a lot more of. Oh, I can go back and let me see if I can. All right, so we got some black sea bass here. Down at the bottom of the rock, you got some spadefish up there. But there's like a few hours worth of video here. So obviously you can see the sea bass there as well, down at the bottom. I was trying to figure out what that big fish down the bottom right was, but I couldn't figure it out.
Probably a grouper.
Could be. But some nice black sea bass. The black sea bass really kind of came in and took over. And again, this was within 6 months. This was back in November. So there's been more. There's been more. I'm sure more growth and more fish occupying that. Now that we've got the warm water, last year there was mahi. They were fishing mahi. There was mahi in and around the turbines. They couldn't get to them though because it was still a construction area. But now, my guess is there's mahi as well as any other predator fish that might be around hanging around to feed on what's here.
There'll be another scour protection survey this summer, so we'll be able to report back on that. And we do put those videos on our website, coastalvawind.com. There's an assumption, obviously, we've had 6 turbines in U.S. waters previously up in Block Island. And from talking with some environmental groups there, that they are starting to see species that they haven't seen in decades.
Yeah.
Again, because of the natural reef effect that the turbines have. We're talking about a very elegant piece of machinery. Obviously, with the structure in the water, things grow on it and things, but we're not kind of just resting there. We are going to be conducting studies on specifically for black sea bass and conch, and engaging in other studies as well to be able to monitor what the impact is going to be of offshore wind in the Commonwealth of Virginia. All indicators point towards good, but we want to make sure that it's looking that way, and that's one of the reasons why we have the research lease.
Can I ask another question, Kevin?
Yeah, I'll stay here all night. I'll answer. Go ahead, please.
The power being taken from the source to the shore, how far underneath are the cables protected that are transmitting the power back to shore?
2 meters.
Are you worried at all about commercials coming through or the Russians coming through and damaging these things?
Well, I hear somebody laughing, but I will tell you one thing that everybody, I think, saw the pictures of people putting gasoline in trash bags because of the cybersecurity incident on the pipeline. This is going to be a major power producer for the Commonwealth of Virginia. It's going to be, as far as the NERC requirements, to be a medium impact facility. So we're taking security at the location and, of course, along the cable route very seriously. But there's a balance to that. People are like, well, maybe you shouldn't chart where the cables are. But we can't do that. We have to chart them. We have to, so people don't drop anchor there. There was just a certain amount of security. So are we worried about it? I would say we're aware. We're aware that, our way of life and our infrastructure and the way, the power is a big part of our life here. If anybody's, can remember back to 2003, I was here for Isabel, and we're out for power for 10 days. My family was getting feral. It was, but it is something we're definitely looking to keep an eye on.
Did you have any Coast Guard interface looking long term to protect this area?
We have had several discussions along those lines, and actually, this is a few weeks ago. Somebody said, "I want you to tell me specifically what you're doing to safeguard these turbines in our power grid." I'm like, I can't do that. There is a certain amount of stuff, but that they, I would say, the Coast Guard and the FBI are a part of what's required by regulation. Is called the Area Maritime Security Committee. That is definitely a part of our posture as we're moving forward, is to stay very well linked with that entity.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Larson or Mr. Carroll?
I do
Please.
have one more.
Right.
This Sheldon area
Go
again.
ahead.
Is there any discussion about using current and tides coming in and out to generate power as well?
At this time, we're focused, and I mean hyper-focused, on offshore wind. I have read and I am aware of wave generation technology. I think if you look around the world, there are some other folks that are looking at that as well. I think one of the strongest indicators that you can see is that offshore wind started in Europe in 1991. It has grown exponentially since then. Ørsted is the world's leader. They actually helped us build the 2 test turbines that we have offshore. They just are continually populating and pushing them out. China is now getting in the offshore wind game. So again, in terms of, I would say the 2 things that you look at the most for power generation, and I'm learning a lot post Coast Guard career now, is availability. Is how well do they hold up? How well are they able to make power? And then the other is the capacity factor. How often are they running, up to like the 2 turbines we have right there are up to 12 megawatts. And our availability has been close to between 94 and 97% in the first year. Now that's awesome.
That
The
is.
other side to this is their capacity factor has exceeded our expectations by over 12%, which is 43% is a good capacity factor to be running at full load. And I would say and remember, we haven't had the full summer yet. Summer is not going to be the best time ever for offshore wind. The other side of Dominion is the summer is not the best time for offshore wind. Solar is. So that's why we're also putting heavily into the solar market, because wind and solar complement each other for the times that there are peaks and the times that they're in valleys.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Mr. Holland, did you have a question?
I've got.
We couldn't hear you.
I'll tell you what, Ed, if anybody does have any questions at all and they weren't able to ask them tonight, there's our contact information there. Give us an email, send us a call, whatever. We're available. That's our job. I mean, if you can't tell, I like talking about the project. I think it's really cool. I think this is a good thing, for our economy, for the environment. And I think ultimately, down the road, we're going to see this as a very positive step forward, not just for the Commonwealth, but for the country. So please let us know if there's questions.
Okay, thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you in May with an update on this.
May 2nd, in person, I'm there.
That's right.
Yeah, the second Monday in May, and Alicia will send you the information well ahead of time.
Tentatively, that's May 9th.
That's right.
May 9th.
And feel free to reach out to us in between now and then. Always available. And Alicia, I think I heard you were interested in the reef portion of it, so I'm happy to chat with you offline if you have any questions about structure and what's going on out there.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both very much. It was very interesting. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the one next year. But if I come up with any questions or friends of mine ask, then I'll send them your way.
Big time. Thank you, sir, very much.
Appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a great night, folks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That concludes everything that we have on the agenda. The next meeting date is somewhere. September the 13th. Is that right, Alicia?
Correct. That's still tentative, but yes, September 13th.
Rob, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I'm feeling almost lost because I'm not planning a fishing clinic this year. I talked to Wesley a little bit over the weekend, but I'm going to pitch in a little bit of supply for him to help with some radios. But Newport News would not give us the opportunity to have the event this year, so we're looking forward to having the 25th next year. And but I do understand the difficulty in obtaining the children because the organizations that do the programs just are not working right now. So it's hard to get the word out and hard to get them to come with the supervisors needed to do it. So I applaud him for trying to have the event at all. And I hope it is successful.
Wesley's running it. I'm sure it's going to be successful.
I appreciate that, Mr. Rhodes.
Shoot, I didn't know he was still listening.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still.
I would have said nice things.
Well, you're getting old, Rob.
That I can confirm.
Any other comments from members of the board? All right. Mr. Holland, you trying again?
I'm ready to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. All right. If there are no other comments or suggestions or anything, then I will say that the meeting is adjourned, and see y'all on September the 13th, some way, shape, or form.
In the meantime, keep them straight in Richmond.
Yeah, right. It all starts the 2nd of August again.
Okay, see y'all.
All right.
Well,
Here, everybody. Have a nice summer.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Lewis, are you still on?